Hey everybody, welcome to the Faith and Fandom podcast. This is the Artist Alley Aftermath edition with Fayetteville Nerd Market, August 2024. It's one of the reoccurring seasonal shows that takes place in downtown Fayetteville, North Carolina, around their iconic market house. And they do a fourth Friday thing all summer through fall. And a few of those nights are called the Nerd Market, where there will be an entire street or section of streets where all of the stuff on that street will be nerdy content. And so this is just kind of a review of that for this past Friday night, which I will say was one of my best Nerd Market experiences. I don't have any beef or problems with the Nerd Market, but it's not always guaranteed a good response in terms of sales or even people being interested. Because again, my stuff is not always, everybody's cup of tea. And like, there'll be some days where I think the previous show I did there, I had two sales and none of them were of nerdy content. Like, one of them was the That's What She Said book. The other one was like some stickers. So it was all Jesus, no nerd, and not as much response. But I've learned, in terms of things, I put up a button wall of the pins that I've been making, the buttons that I've been making lately, and that honestly helped a lot in terms of getting people's attention. And I'll say this just because if I can't be honest with y'all, what's the point? I strongly debated internally if I should not put my tablecloth or sign up so that people wouldn't know it was a Jesus booth until they got there and it'd be too late. I didn't do that, but I had the thought, like, it was the water it down enough to actually be able to get the chance to talk to people. But, I couldn't do that. Like, that kind of went against the core of why I do what I do and what I want to do. And so I didn't. But yeah, I did my work day. That day I drove down to Fayetteville, which, by the way, driving to Fayetteville lately has been a hazard anyway with construction. The other night I got stuck on the interstate for over 3 hours in the same spot. But yeah, driving on to Fayetteville can be a beast lately. But I got downtown. I did not leave when I wanted to. I was running behind. I forgot things that I needed. But I got out there. And I set up right across, or I set up right next to a crochet booth. And we never spoke. It was never intentional. But I never spoke to them and they didn't speak to me. I did have a friend right on the other side, so we'd be leaning back, talking to each other in the process. This show always comes with the added benefit of being directly in front of the best hamburger in the state of North Carolina, which you can find at Archway Burgers and Dogs. And they also serve fried okra as a side, so my southern boy at heart can enjoy it. But it set up, and it was actually a really cool evening for August. Today, which is I'm recording this 2 days later on Sunday, today was sweltering heat outside. So having a nice cool day in August is a huge blessing. But I got set up, and this is the first time I ever did my button wall the way that I did it. And so that turned out pretty well. In terms of response, and I pretty much just kind of stood around and talked to people. The event only lasts from 6 to 9, so I honestly spend more time setting up and tearing down than I do with the booth out, but it's still a solid thing. And I had a lot of good interactions at this show. I do not know what I did financially because I threw my money box in and I didn't count anything, and it's because it's been a busy weekend. one of the first interactions I had was a pastor that came by, and a dude named Sam, and he was just really excited about it. And he said that this is something that's needed. And I told him about the heart behind it and the vision for it and why I believe it's important. And, we just really connected well together. Then we also found out that one of his former youth group kids is part of my church's Pembroke location and was one of our church interns for a while. And so that was neat. But hearing a pastor just connect with it and be excited about it, and seeing his wife excited about it, and the fact that we had to stop talking several times because people were interested in the books, it was a really good experience. The buttons got a really good experience in terms of the response. Having that many iconic images visible definitely made people want to stop and check a little bit more. And, this is also still a downtown city event, and there is a lot of clashing ideologies and thoughts. And there are people that were approaching to be negative, but at the same time, I feel like this was a much more balanced response event overall. But yeah, the buttons did really well with that, which in turn gave me more chances to talk about the books. One of my favorite things was that there's a little girl cosplaying as Luffy from One Piece. And she walked up, they were looking at something at the booth, and I said, "Hey, I like your Luffy." And she says, and she literally, with every bit of joy in her soul, threw up her arms in the air and said, "I'm going to be king of the pirates." And I just looked at her and said, "Yeah, you are." And I don't think she was ready for my response to it. But she was just electric. She was a really cool kid. Her dad was a fun dad with it. And I gave her this little Luffy painting that I'd made and I'd been carrying around for months now, of Luffy stretching out his cheek from like the first episode. And so she took as soon as I handed her the painting, I said, "Here, I want you to have this." She took it and she did the actual pose from the painting and posed, and I took a photo of it, and I was like, that's a great moment, and I just give it to her with that. One of the major negatives of this experience, and this is not something I think that the showrunners can change, but it is a major negative. And if you listen to me or you hear me often, I don't really just poo-poo on things or throw out negatives, but this is a major negative, is that they plan this event, and the event goes in the parking spaces of all the businesses downtown. Now, there is plenty of parking at the back of these spaces, and a lot of times people will park at parking decks and walk. So getting a space guaranteed downtown is not always that promising anyway. But the businesses downtown seem to give zero poops that there's an event going on outside. And so the event always has a DJ, and he's a good DJ. It's DJ G Money. He's a local DJ, and he also wrestles. And that's his thing. And he plays pretty good mix of things. I'm always critical of DJs because I am one, but I'll say this dude's technically better than me. Our selections might be different, but he's technically a better DJ than me in terms of actual disc jockeying. And I don't mind G Money's musical selections. He can rock. He can play any show I'm at. The problem comes is that every other business downtown is also blasting music outside the front of their venue. So, directly down to my right is a restaurant that is playing bougie, symphonic, like Kenny G-ish style stuff, but it's loud and it's coming at me from the right. Directly in front of me is a more urban environment that is playing really ratchet 70s songs about how you should, got how you cheat on your woman and stuff like that. And then you've got bangers coming at the left from DJ G Money. So it's literally like musical napalm, that you've got three different musical sounds and just on the block I'm on coming at you from all directions. Now, this goes on all the way down the street. So it's a lot. That if you're in that little space, it's hard to have a conversation sometimes because of the audio distortion that is happening around you, and it just kind of made my eye twitch for the whole time. I was lucky where I was at last time that I really only heard two of the things, but my placement this time put me square in the middle of the three genres, and like my eye is actually twitching now while I'm saying this. So it definitely was a thing that I was not the biggest fan of. I love the event, and I know that they can't go in there and tell these restaurants to stop, but it was a lot. There's also, this is a proof to me. They say that if you're setting up a booth or if you're an artist or things like that, it takes people 7 times to see you before they notice you. And I got approached by a dude who ran an escape room at the end of the night. He's like, man, I didn't know that you did, Jesus stuff. Now, this dude has come up to me and talked to me at my booth 4 separate occasions. But on the 5th occasion, he actually noticed what I was doing. Y'all, it's that type of thing that, sometimes you just got to be out there and be present long enough for people to actually see who you are and what you're doing. But it was a good night. It was a good experience. I cosplayed a little bit, and I think that honestly makes a big difference. I hate cosplaying at my booth per se, just because it's a very taxing experience. But I feel like, in some ways, because my stuff deals with religious content, seeing that I'm chill enough to wear a costume actually kind of takes the edge off of people that might be apprehensive. I don't know. But either way, I was wearing my Shy Guy cosplay because it was cool enough to wear in the evening. And, yeah. And it was nice. There's also, you can see some shots of downtown on my Facebook and Instagram. It was just a beautiful place. The street looked really nice. They had a lot of good lighting and things like that. I'm also still really appreciative of my little battery backup power thingy that I take a couple desk lamps to and set up. It makes everything so much easier in terms of visibility, because there's usually this twilight time where the lights are going down, but the light, like the sun is going down and it's starting to get dusk, but the street lights don't come on. Or even if the street lights do come on, there's no guarantee that they're actually going to be bright enough to light up your table. So I always try at outdoor events in the evenings to light up my own table in this capacity. But it was a good experience. I got to talk to some friends. I got to talk to LJ from Fayetteville Comic-Con. I got to talk to some people who have bought books from me before. There was a good response. I can't remember all the interactions on books, but like a book 9, a book 8, That's What She Said went out. And, I just got to connect with some people that were really interested in the things. And I sold almost all of my candles. So like my controller candles, my dice candles, I literally have maybe 4 candles left, and that's pretty great too. There was a D&D group that talked about, custom getting candles from me so that they could actually, so they could get to a place where they would be able to have their candles set up for their event. So overall, I enjoyed it. I thought it was cool. It was hot. It was sweltering. There was never a point I wasn't sweating, and I also forgot my chair. So I was physically, my knees were hot garbage by the end of this event, and I was very dehydrated. I did drink water. This was an event I did about a year ago, and I literally thought I was going to die. I was so dehydrated. But it was good. I had a good experience with it. Lauren, who runs the event downtown, did a phenomenal job setting it up. And while it's only open for 3 hours, it was still a really good connection piece. So I was grateful for it. And I don't know if I'm going to get to do another one this year, just in terms of scheduling. But it was a nice experience. So downtown Fayetteville, beautiful August evening. Got to eat my favorite burger. Got to talk to some people about Jesus. Got to vibe with some people on some nerdy content. I gave away buttons to kids who really were excited about their characters. That's a nice thing, to be able to make these buttons and it not be like an arm and a leg, to be able to bless a child. So that's cool. I traded buttons. I had a button that I had made from Multiverses that had Superman lifting up the Mystery Machine and Batman with Shaggy and Scooby. And Denny Art, who's a local artist who just makes some fantastic art. If you've ever seen like my desk in shots or videos, there's a Chansey like doing finger guns at somebody. She had great art, and I traded her 2 of my buttons for 2 of her buttons, and they were delightful. And we talked about Animal Crossing because she was dressed in cosplay, and it was great. That's it overall. I had a good experience. There's not a lot to say on that front, but it was a good time and a good night. And I'm grateful for it. And our Patreon supporters helped make literally all of that possible. So I want to thank our Patreon supporters for being as gracious and wonderful as they are. And, go ahead and shout them out real quick. Darth Paradox, who's a newer Patreon supporter. David Brooks, Jeff Weimer, Colin Sproles, Jamie Montgomery, the Coleman family, Jonathan Herman, Ron Petit, Gear Saber Cosplay, Scott Ward, Alicia Glenn, Candace Davis, Jay Sheed, Jason Crutchfield, Mike Perna, Todd Turner, John Jacobs, Zach Harris, Caleb Grimm, Jeanette Skaggs, Jason Bullock, Christina Ray, Sarah Lewis, Patrick Gale, who came to my church's picnic today. That was awesome. Rebecca Godlove and Adam Davis, thank you for taking time to support and be encouraging as all the ways that you are. Next week, I'm going to be at our August 31st Labor Day weekend. I will be at the Friends of the Brothers Boyd Comic-Con in Havelock, North Carolina. And the week after that will be Vertical Minicon in Lumberton, North Carolina, and then have a little bit of a break until Boone Comic-Con on October 5th. So I'm glad to be able to share with y'all. I hope you have a great day.